I'm Luna, the real heiress mistakenly swapped at birth. After being brought back, my family doted on the fake heiress, Andy. But now, I won't hold back. When my brother Dave mentioned my broken leg, I swung my crutch at his leg, telling him to break a leg first before talking. Andy mocked my lack of musical talent, so I snapped the guitar string and hit it towards her. Sister, I'm best at playing the human drum, wanna hear it? My parents said I wasn't as good as Andy, so I fought for power. Isn't that better than her? The day I returned to the family, Andy greeted me in a designer dress, tears streaming down her face. My biological brother Dave tried to comfort her. She only lost a leg, no need to feel so guilty. Lifting my crutch, I swung it at Dave's leg. He yelped in pain, stumbling backwards. It's just a leg, why run? My crutch was long enough, so I deliberately swung it towards Andy. Dave, trying to shield her, took a few blows. Seeing their shocked faces, I didn't let up. I only got crazier. In my previous life, when I found out about the switch, I was ecstatic, hoping to be reunited with my biological parents. But they fainted from crying over the foster daughter and stalled for days, even considering keeping things as they were. Meanwhile, my adoptive father, who also knew the truth, saw no sign of my family coming for me and thought they didn't care. Fearing I'd affect Andy, he broke my leg. I returned crippled, and their favoritism towards Andy made me more self-conscious and twisted. Eventually, Andy's fiancé Mike accused me of harming Andy, oppressed me, and sold me abroad. Fortunately, I'm back. This time, I'll strike hard. Dave squealed in pain. I stopped, rolling up my sleeves to show my healing scars, just a few hits. You can't even take it as well as I can. It's just a leg. Try losing yours. Dave looked away, embarrassed, while my parents showed guilt. Dad said, Dave, you're about to take over the company. Be mature. Watch your words. He turned to me, slightly nervous. It's all that scumbag's fault. I've sued him, don't hold grudges. I replied sarcastically, Dear Dad, didn't you know Mom already withdrew the lawsuit for Andy's sake? She said having a birth father in jail would be disgraceful for Andy's upcoming marriage. Naturally, Dad, being the macho type, was furious, scolding Mom for making decisions without consulting him. Mom felt wronged. I was thinking for Luna's benefit. Found her wealthy parents only to put her adoptive parents in jail? People will brand her as ungrateful. I rolled my eyes, pulled out my phone, and posted the whole ordeal online, masking key details but writing from Mom's perspective. I just don't want my daughter to carry a bad reputation. Am I really wrong? I paid for promotion, and the video's views skyrocketed, bringing in numerous comments and responses. The top comment said, Of course, you're not wrong. Just bring your face closer for me to slap. Pardon me, but people will wonder if you did something wrong, otherwise, why would I slap you? For the sake of your reputation, how about 2 more slaps? Mom's face turned pale, at a loss for words. I wasn't. Dad stopped everything, deciding to proceed with the lawsuit. My first night home was anything but peaceful. But it was just the beginning. While I recovered quietly, occasionally playing the victim, I took advantage of their guilt to gain benefits. Once healed, my parents organized an acknowledgement banquet for me. See, having and not having a leg makes a difference. Dad personally handed me the dress, more expensive than Andy's. No matter how wronged Andy felt, he didn't flinch. Who wants to hear outsiders call him a fool again? In their circle, secrets are hard to keep. My identity wasn't public, but those who should know are aware. Several affluent offspring learned about it, and the news spread widely. Many wanted to do business with Dad, but they set traps, wanting to see if he was as dumb as rumored. Dad was furious and needed a platform to prove his intelligence and charisma. So, whether those fools liked it or not, they had to act welcoming. The banquet went smoothly. Real heiress Luna turned out more beautiful and smarter than her family. I thought she'd be timid. Rumor has it, they valued men over women in that household, even burned her books to prevent her education. Yet she persevered. She's tough. Is she from NYU? From a small town to a prestigious university, not easy. The room was full of compliments that embarrassed Andy. She introduced me to her friends. Some of Andy's friends had curious looks, while others seemed hostile. Someone cheekily suggested playing the piano. After Andy's performance, her group applauded. Suddenly, someone mentioned me. Does Luna know how to play? Oh, come on, Luna getting into university is hard enough. How could she afford piano lessons? Such a pity. Life's unfair. Andy quickly defended me but smirked slightly. Did taking my place and resources make her so proud? I smiled softly. I don't know the piano, but I play the zither. Do you have one around? I'll show you. The room was skeptical. Zither are more niche and pricey. To them, my previous background made touching a piano possible, but a zither? Come on. Andy's buddy Mike said, better not lie about it. Can't we test it and see? Isn't there a zither? Butler, go borrow one. A group remained doubtful, most unbelieving. Andy personally brought a zither, urging me not to show off. I snatched it away, put on the finger sleeves, and played from the nearest spot to her. Everyone's expressions changed, emotions cycling through amusement, disbelief, mockery, appreciation, and amazement. The zither hadn't been maintained, probably bought for Andy and only collecting dust, with slightly off strings. But I didn't care, I wasn't formally trained. So what if there were some flaws? For the last notes, I played forcefully, snapping a string and sending it towards Andy, marking her with blood. Who can't play an instrument? I'm great with human drum sounds. Want to hear it? Andy turned pale in fright, stumbling to the ground. Mom rushed to help her, ready to scold me, but I covered her mouth. Turning, I declared to the guests, thanks for coming to my welcome party. Andy brought out a faulty zither, making a fool of things. We've some family issues to handle. The guests were quick-witted, making polite departures. Soon, everyone was gone, and the butler kindly closed the door. Mom's pent-up anger burst at me. Luna, what are you doing? Didn't I say? Just keeping our scandals within. What did I do wrong? I didn't bother with her nonsense and turned to Andy, who had a dirty look on his face. Andy, we're in this together. You know that, right? You've been in this family long enough to get it, don't you? I know you don't want me back home, but can't you just hold it together in front of everyone? They asked me to play an instrument, and not only did you not stop them, you gave me a faulty zither. Andy stuttered and looked like he was about to cry. Strangely, it was kind of beautiful. But too bad, what I said hit home with my dad. He wasn't pleased, but he understood my point. Luna's right. I didn't host this party for people to laugh at our family. Andy, do you not like Luna? Andy panicked and tried to explain. But nobody listened. The most important person in the house, Grandpa, had just returned. His wheelchair rolled to the center, and his sharp gaze settled on me. Luna is really great. The coldness in my eyes faded, replaced by a mist that blurred my vision. Grandpa was the only one who welcomed me back home. Even in my past life, when I constantly embarrassed the family, he never turned his back on me. He even gave me shares of the company. Andy didn't get any shares, and she made a fuss about it. But Grandpa stood firm. The others felt sorry for her and gave her some of theirs, so her shares soon outnumbered mine. In my previous life, Andy smugly flaunted, so what if you have shares? The people protecting you are gone. Your shares will naturally return to others. Just as she predicted, after Grandpa died, they came after me and got my shares back. I pushed aside all my thoughts and stayed by Grandpa's side, chatting with him. Maybe it was a generational thing, or maybe he valued bloodlines, but we quickly hit it off. Mom couldn't stand it and started picking on me. Luna, I know you're trying to do what's best for the family, but you've overstepped. Hitting your brother, bullying your sister, silencing your mom, I scoffed. You all have been stupid. Shouldn't I use special means? Mom's hands shook with anger. Why don't you ever listen? Grandpa's eyes grew colder. He didn't like Mom's behavior and said, you didn't fulfill your duties as parents for 19 years, so stop acting like you have authority. That shut everyone up. They didn't dare respond. The living room was filled with the sound of Grandpa and me happily laughing. Grandpa lived with us for a while and saw firsthand how cold they were toward me. He secretly gifted me quite a bit of his personal estate. That didn't happen in my past life. He patted my hand. Luna, Grandpa won't be here forever. You can't keep bickering with them. I won't always be able to protect you. I hugged him tight. Grandpa, you have to live to 100. He chuckled, patting my head. Silly child, just like in my past life, Grandpa changed his will, leaving me his company shares. But instead of 3%, it became 5%, and it was immediate. Mom was the first to oppose. Andy doesn't get any. Dad, I don't mind you giving Luna shares, but it should be fair. Dave chimed in. Andy's been with us for so long. She's like a real sister. Grandpa looked around, finally fixing his gaze on Dad. Do you feel the same way? Dad hesitated for a moment, then shook his head. No need. Mom wouldn't let it go and used Andy's potential marriage alliance for leverage, successfully making Dad reconsider. Andy chimed in right on cue. Dad, Mom, it's okay. I'm just happy to be with you all. There's no need to argue over me. Her considerate act quickly won Dad over. I held back my frustration and was about to step forward when Grandpa stopped me. His eyes were icy. You are generous. Dave muttered quietly. Andy isn't an outsider. Grandpa waved his hand, and his butler presented a recording from Andy's biological father. I'm telling you, my biological daughter ended up in a wealthy family. Married into a rich family? No. It was a mix-up. That family treats my daughter so well, raising her like a high-class lady. Oh, weren't you in jail for assault? Who did you hurt? My adopted daughter. I was afraid she'd threaten my daughter's place when she got back, so I aimed for her leg. I figure, even if that family values blood, they won't care for her much since their biological daughter is disabled. Applause followed the man's heinous words. That family is stupid, disregarding blood ties. When my foster daughter returns, they'll hate her. My daughter will get more, and will be well off in our later years. And that family? They deserve to be torn apart. Idiots, the harsh words smacked them in the face like a searing hot slap. Watching them struggle inwardly, I found it amusing. Don't believe it, but the facts of my past life don't lie. Their biological daughter, died out there. The family deteriorated because of their relationship with Andy and a series of wrong decisions. Andy climbed up as a rich man's wife and frequently helped her real parents, living quite comfortably. I mouthed silently, fools. Dave heard it and yelled, impossible. Andy wouldn't treat our family like that. I shot back sarcastically, but she's my adoptive parents' real daughter. She's so kind. Why would she abandon them? She wouldn't. Our family is just destined to be fools, right? The glaring truth made everyone grow distant from Andy. She had to go out of her way to please them just to maintain the peace. Those three even started to care about my feelings. Not only did they make up for years of missed allowances and birthday presents, but they started considering my opinion when buying things for Andy. The mother who looked down on me even took me to gatherings in wealthy circles. Andy, you look after Luna, Mom said, then quickly corrected, never mind. Luna, you better stick with me. Andy looked hurt, but no one paid her any mind. When it was clear I didn't have suitable clothing, she hurriedly offered me her own. She implied, sis, just wear mine for now. You just got back, you might not know. We socialize a lot in our circle, so you need multiple outfits. Don't spend recklessly. Faced with my growingly icy stare, Andy smugly backtracked. I'm just saying the wrong things, sis. Try on the clothes. They were all picked by Mom for me. Such familiar manipulation. But I can play this game too, Andy, what nonsense are you saying? Mom's busy, forgetting about me is understandable. Mom immediately promised to get me clothes for all seasons. And Andy ended up looking like a clown, apologizing all around, and shot me a glare when no one was looking. Think this is over? I pulled out most of her clothes, especially the ones she loved in her previous life, and tried them on. I wonder if my sister would be annoyed with me. I've never seen such beautiful clothes, so I tried on a few more. In front of our mother, she only dared to shed a few tears, not a single complaint. Before leaving, I watched Andy throw the clothes I tried on into the trash. She's such a neat freak, serves her right. Tea parties of the wealthy are just boring piles of money. It's either bragging about their new bags and clothes or boasting about their sons and husbands. Occasionally, they elegantly talk about art. For the former, I just sit there like a log, but for the latter, I get involved. One lady asked me, Luna plays the zither quite well, with more effort, she might rival musicians. I learned it by accident while working. I picked up the basics and refined it at home. But unfortunately, I knew very little. Eventually, I slowly gave up. After becoming a ghost, I picked it back up and studied it for a long time. It's the only instrument I'm proud of playing. But there's only one piece I play well. I told the truth. The lady looked sympathetic. If you hadn't been held back for so many years, your family might have had a musician. She's the only one in the group with a career. She's a violinist and held several concerts. Andy never got her praise. Mother was slightly stunned, and I saw my reflection in her eyes. You see, as a mother, all she cares about is the benefits her daughter brings. You're only valuable if you're excellent, capable of creating another her. I just regret not understanding this sooner. After the party, Andy was anxious. Even though Mom still favored her, every time Mom glanced at me, Andy became terrified, losing her previous composure. I enjoyed the show and spent more time on studying. I already had the courage of not being loved. But Grandpa, he sighed. He was probably disappointed in the father and son of the family, so he ordered me to start interning at the company. After deciding, he returned to his hometown to rest. I moved out of the house and stayed in the apartment Grandpa gave me. I studied finance, had money on hand, so I dabbled in the stock market a lot. Sometimes when classmates, seniors, or juniors started businesses, I'd invest a bit. During these times, I'd be mad at my past self for being too eager for family love, spending energy rivaling Andy, which left me clueless about those short-lived rising companies. But it's okay, I remember the overall industry trends. Worst case, I have the knowledge I learned. I independently analyzed and invested in a new energy company. Coincidentally, I ran into Andy's fiancé, Mike. Mike was visibly surprised to see me. He bluntly asked if I'd play favorites. Of course not. Mike laughed, immediately playing up to me like I was a client, flattering me faster than anything. Fate is funny. I carefully read their proposal and recalled Mike's past experiences. He and I went to the same university. When I was just recognized by my family, he was still studying abroad, and we hadn't met directly. After returning home, Mike was busy with his startup. He had a good eye, worked hard, did well, but eventually went back to inherit the family business. I might mess with Andy, but I wouldn't mess with money. I pretended to nitpick, and Mike promptly explained. I pushed it further, offering some suggestions. He listened, a decent partner. I invested in the project. Mike was delighted. Great, I'll seriously consider your advice and see if we can integrate it into our plan. After negotiations, Mike showed his gentlemanly side, not only giving me a ride back to school but also expressing goodwill. Rumors are never true, you're polite and have a unique perspective. I cut him off. I hope Mr. Mike remembers one thing, seeing isn't always believing, and applies it to business. Mike paused and agreed, looking at me with admiration. A loud crash. I looked at the source of the sound. It was Andy. Her face was ugly, and the thermos she held smashed to the ground, spilling soup. I excused myself. Mike nodded, running to comfort Andy. I ignored them, only feeling a stare piercing my back. Andy, you've got yours now. At night, I purposely went home, came out at midnight for a drink, and gave Andy a chance to catch me. Luna, you've already taken Mom and Dad, why do you want Mike too? I smirked. Didn't Mike tell you we're just working together? Andy didn't believe it. You're lying. You're definitely approaching him on purpose, wanting me to have nothing. She got more agitated, raising her hand to hit me. I held her hand and pinned her to the fridge. I don't care for your things. Mike and I are just partners, got it? The lights suddenly came on. Dave appeared at the kitchen door. Andy's tears fell again, playing the same old trick. Luna, I've given you everything, why can't you leave me alone? I let her go, raised my hand, slapped until my hand hurt and her face was swollen, then I released her. That's what not leaving you alone means. Understand? I leisurely picked up my glass, passing by Dave cautiously, fearing he'd jump in and avenge Andy. However, Dave was indifferent to Andy's plight. Instead, he was hurt by my wariness. Luna, you're my sister, no need to be so guarded. I gave a half smile, embarrassment flashed in his eyes, avoiding my gaze. Mike told me everything, it was Andy's petty mind. Ugh, no fun. I had no reason to hit him. During summer break, I officially started interning at the company. Our family's business is in the food industry, owning several factories, initially supplying major supermarkets and small convenience stores. Nowadays, with the rise of the internet, we want to operate both online and offline channels. The online channel is set up, showing some success, but saturated competition leaves it stale. They're looking for other paths. Of course, these are concerns for the decision makers. What I need to worry about is the poor performing canned fruits. Grandpa probably didn't want me bullied, so he didn't hide my identity. The moment I joined the canned fruit section, the manager almost treated me like royalty. Not only did he present all company development info from recent years, but he also swore he'd do whatever I say. Our fruit department relies on you. I blinked, sent him out, then called my dad. As expected, assigning me to the fruit department was another one of Andy's ideas. She phrased it as putting me in the most relaxed department, to avoid stress. I snorted, she's like a fly, utterly annoying. Andy wanted to intern too, and she came along. But her first 19 years, with parental protection and resources, she wasn't focused on excelling, but on being happy. Her grades weren't great, achievements mostly in the arts, attending a film college. So, she got bored and left just a few days after arriving. Is she trying to trip me up just to prove I'm as incompetent as she is? I scoffed. No way. I'm determined to show them what I can achieve. To better understand the canned fruit industry, I decided to visit several factories. To my surprise, the equipment wasn't outdated. I even saw newly imported machines on the latest production line. The factory manager explained that the former chairman, despite being sentimental, invested over $1 million to upgrade the line. But the issue was on the sales side. Wiping sweat from his brow, he continued, others keep saying our department just drains money. I've done my best to cut costs, but it doesn't help. I didn't console him. Sometimes, individual effort can't stand against the tides of the times. After leaving the factory, I visited the collaborating orchards. The farmers seemed aware of their bleak future, desperately trying to speak favorably, hoping to continue the partnership. If it fell through, they'd be back to selling at mere cents per pound or, worse, not selling at all. Luna, please, they pleaded. Looking at their wrinkled faces, I was deep in thought. I'd seen shows where characters, despite losses, continued working to support struggling farmers. And now, standing in the same position, I found myself empathizing. Back home, burdened with expectation, I finally had some ideas. Is my sister back? Andy greeted me warmly. I reflexively took a step back. Her smile momentarily paused, then widened. Sister, I have great news. The fruit department is getting shut down by year end. You won't have to stress over it anymore. Isn't that just wonderful? I frowned. Time wasn't on my side. The improvements I wanted to make needed funding, and I wasn't sure the board would approve. As if things couldn't get worse, I got a call from a strange woman, Mike's mom. She informed me they were pulling out, and I didn't need to be involved in Mike's project anymore. Andy was smug. Sister, isn't this news even better? Without a word, I slapped Andy a few more times. You gone mad? Am I the crazy one, or are you? I didn't make you step down for my benefit. You're just spoiling for a fight, aren't you? Andy looked momentarily pleased, then burst into tears. The same old tricks. Does she think it's still effective? I walked away completely unfazed. A familiar voice interrupted, asking what was going on. Andy latched onto our mom's sleeve, recounting what had happened. Our mom turned to me, is this true? Do you really need to ask? I sneered. Better take care of your daughter. Calling her stupid is an insult to stupidity. She's an imbecile. At least she's adopted, so you can blame her roots. I walked away. Low IQ truly is contagious. My mom called after me, furious, but I ignored her. She was biased, and with Andy's instigation, would corner me to assert her motherly authority. Until she got a call from Dave's family, calling off the engagement. My mom panicked, asking why. But why would they care to explain? The news reached my grandpa, bringing him back from his hometown. Disappointed, he asked, you really don't know why? Andy, furious, accused me. Did sister say something? Everyone speculated it was due to lack of blood ties or because Andy didn't have company shares. Grandpa, disheartened, gestured for me to speak. Andy got involved with Mike's business before marriage. A wife's diplomacy matters in business too. A woman who sabotages her fiancé's deals over personal vendettas isn't desirable. No one knew Andy contacted Mike's mom until they pressed for answers. They all scolded her foolishness. Foolish? I'd say she's idle. The family bickered and wept. Grandpa and I, tired of the drama, slipped away. I took the chance to share my ideas with Grandpa. Though retired, he still had influence in the company. Grandpa kindly said, go ahead. As long as I'm alive, I'm your backing. Another Monday, at the company meeting. I presented my plan, keep only one fruit line, supplying bubble tea shops, and utilize our existing cold chain storage for bulk fruit sales. A VP frowned, are you nuts? How big is the bubble tea market anyway? Others didn't approve either. Even with market data, I couldn't convince them. They argued the data might be good, but it wasn't ours. We didn't need to delve into this market. I insisted on going ahead, causing a standoff. During a break, my dad and Dave tried to persuade me to give up. As a girl, you don't need to stress so much. I sneered, planning. If I had to, I'd lead our team on my own to expand the market. If funding ran low, I'd use my money. No one could object, right? Luckily, Mike called, apologizing and expressing his desire to keep collaborating. I shared my situation. He was embarrassed, asking if there was any hope because he didn't want to return to his family business. A breakthrough soon followed. Grandpa single-handedly supported me, funding needs from his account. I could now breathe, investing in Mike as planned. Andy was unusually silent upon hearing this. Not surprising. Her dad was out of jail, looking for money. Naturally, he turned to his daughter. He approached me but got beaten by my bodyguards and didn't dare return. He only had Andy left. Desperate, Andy had to give him money. But being reckless with spending, she hardly had any. Without money, her father wouldn't leave her alone, constantly threatening, keeping her on edge. Andy turned to me for help. Just like in our past life, I said, they're your real parents, aren't they? You wouldn't want our parents knowing you're heartless, right? She collapsed, overwhelmed. In her despair, I saw karma. But it wasn't enough. Later, I was busy finding sales channels, grading fruits, and refining packaging techniques. Initially, I got nowhere. But drawing from past life memories, I hit the market at the right time with all sorts of fruit teas coming out. Our factory received related orders. Low-end fruit teas used canned fruit and lesser-grade fruit. This avoided the end-of-year acts and projected profitability the following year. When New Year rolled around, things were good for me, and others weren't doing too badly either. I have no idea what Andy was thinking, getting into showbiz early and convincing her family to invest in a low-budget web series. Wasn't the company struggling to find a new profit point? Why not give it a try? Her dad gave in after a bit of persuasion. He didn't forget about me and gave me a cut of that investment too. Andy wasn't thrilled, but she just picked at her food. After the holidays, sales went up, high-end tea shops started reaching out, the factory revived, and the entire department was buzzing. With the tea market booming, the company's supply expanded its market share, boosting the other food products as well. Grandpa was pleased and wanted me to get involved in the other departments. Of course, I didn't refuse. I joined the company right after graduation. For my first big decision, I argued with Dave and Dad but didn't win. Soon, it became obvious they were wrong, and it hit the company hard. I abruptly pulled out of Mike's company, catching him off guard, claiming it was to save our own company. Mike was furious and resentful, and after a few decisions, he cashed out and left. The second major decision, they considered my opinion but played it safe, missing a crucial turning point again. The board grew increasingly distrustful of them, and there were whispers about me taking over. I managed to hold off the pressure and quickly made the right decisions to revive the company. Our new product needed advertising, so after some discussion, they opted for a variety show. Not sure who thought of it, but they knew to keep resources in the family and got Andy on the show. Over the years, she's improved, starring in a dozen roles, but still waiting for her big break. The show was probably her best opportunity recently. The show caught some attention, and Andy's popularity rose. People knew I wasn't too fond of her and planned for me to do charity work near the show's filming location. I went happily, and found a slightly disheveled Andy in a cornfield. She quickly avoided my gaze. The director deliberately brought her over for an interview. Facing the live camera, Andy had to swallow her pride and come over. "Have you ever done farm work?" I laughed. Of course, my adoptive parents are from the countryside. Andy's eyes showed panic as she rushed through the interview. When it finally ended, the director came over and learned I was there for charity, at which point he became chatty and asked if I had anything to say to the girls in the mountains. I thought for a moment and said, "I hope all girls have the courage to not be loved." The director paused. "The courage to not be loved?" "Yeah, not everyone is born being loved, and that doesn't mean we're unworthy. Never doubt yourself because of it. Many girls seek love because they can't get it from their parents. Others get love from their parents but end up thinking love is the only sincere thing. When love's absent for a while, they wonder if they're unworthy. But no, never. No matter how rough it gets, believe it's a test. When you get through it, the world will come to love you. The dust on the pearl will blow away eventually." Though abstract, some people seemed touched. Especially Andy, who kept looking at me meaningfully. She often pursued love excessively. If family attention shifted, she felt wronged, as if without love she lost her world. "And you, right now you must be glowing, waiting for love from around the world, huh?" I chuckled. "No, I'm the one giving love now." The variety show segment got edited and uploaded online. At first, it didn't get much attention. Later, my words resonated with some, and they began digging into my life story. Soon they discovered the real and fake daughter story, learned that my adoptive parents favored boys over girls and didn't love me, and my biological parents favored the foster daughter, giving me little attention. People were amazed, putting my story alongside my words, and suddenly those dry words had more vividness. The video went viral. Some commented, "Maybe we sanctify love too much. Love's important, but life has other meanings. It's just a seasoning." Others disagreed, saying love is essential. But they all agreed, it's not the end of the world if no one loves you. Just love yourself, and love will find you eventually. The spotlight moved to Andy, accusing her of being greedy and criticizing her family's favoritism. Andy partially realized, but still habitually blamed me. Even her doting mom couldn't take it. All you do is blame others. When will you grow up? Luna's already holding down the company. She ruined everything for me. Doesn't she hate that you're biased? You should be worried about her using a marriage alliance to sell the company from under you. The three looked at me, suspicion in their eyes. I smiled, you're right, company's mine now. But I don't need to wait for a marriage. I can do it now. Dave refused to believe, impossible. Grandpa wouldn't agree. Grandpa entered with a heavy look. He doted on me but couldn't shake his traditional view that businesses were for boys to inherit. Can't you support your brother? I replied, calm but firm, no. Grandpa, you don't want to see the company fall, right? Grandpa stared at me for a long moment, sighed and seemed ready to decide. My dad, sensing it, protested, Dad, you can't. Luna's going to marry. Ha! Do you think I can stop her? She already owns 30% of the company. The other directors stand with her. You've been so useless. My shares equaled my family's. Back when we were struggling, I quietly bought shares and gained majority support. The company was already in my pocket. The family had to accept the facts. Grandpa gave me his remaining shares, take care of the company. You're doing better than they ever could. I hugged him, thankful for his understanding. Maybe afraid to upset me, the family had Andy move out and stopped investing in her acting, causing her opportunities to plummet. Her income dropped drastically, and then her biological parents came asking for money. She wised up and had security throw them out. Those scumbags got even poorer. Seeing Andy down, Dave, being a kindred spirit, joined her for drinks. When Grandpa sent me to get them, I found them kissing passionately outside a bar. Geez, not picky anymore. I was about to turn away when I heard a loud crash. Turning back, Dave was hit and sent flying. Someone had just gotten killed. In the chaos, the van came back and ran over Andy again. She couldn't dodge in time and got crushed. Fortunately, the police arrived just in time to save her life. In front of the operating room, her father and mother rushed in. What on earth happened? The perpetrators were Andy's biological parents. They were looking for money, got humiliated, and, after drinking too much, came for revenge. They nearly fainted. We should have given Andy away back in the day. She's been nothing but trouble. Well, serves her right. After the surgery, Dave lost a leg, and some organs like his kidneys were repaired. Life was destined to be tough from then on. Andy was left quadriplegic, doomed to spend her life in bed. After hearing the doctor's news, the mother fainted right away. The adoptive parents got arrested, and they're likely looking at several years in jail. As for Andy, they decided per the father's wishes to send her away and wouldn't even cover her medical bills. Once I got all the follow-up arranged, I went back to my work at the company. Only half a year later, my dad, due to heavy drinking, had a stomach hemorrhage. After being admitted to the hospital, he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Mom went through a lot of stress, lost her mind, and couldn't recognize anyone, often calling out my name, as if regretting everything. And Andy, she passed away one midnight. With my vengeance fulfilled, I raised a glass to the sky, grateful for a new beginning. I'm determined to live an even more exciting life. The end.